right? Nobody went in?
No,
nobody went in. No, EMTs went in.
The EMTs were the first ones.
They're very brief, just
brief, and I told
medics
them we were
left us when I was about 13, I guess.
Was it easy? Hard?
No, it was tough.
Gene Hackman's longtime publicist, Susan Midori, has said the Oscar-winning star and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, went to great lengths to maintain their privacy towards the end of their lives. The Gutman Associates executive, who worked with Hackman for 27 years, was speaking at a hearing in Santa Fe, New Mexico, to determine whether photographs and video taken during the investigation into the couple's deaths should be released to the public. Santa Fe Judge Matthew Wilson ultimately ruled that redacted police body camera video and other documents would be released, provided images of the couple's bodies are not viewable. Rolling Stone reports that during the hearing, Midori explained how Hackman once bought a plot of land next to a garbage dump because he wanted somewhere he could ride his bicycle. He wanted the privacy of being able to ride his bike without anyone following him or observing him, said Midori. The publicist added that Arakawa had phoned her after the real estate purchase because she wanted me to be aware if anyone called, asking why Mr. Hackman lived at the dump. Midori went on to say that CBS requested an interview with Hackman months before his death, but the actor turned them down. The news outlet then indicated that they may go ahead with their coverage anyway. When I told Gene and Betsy, they were horrified, Midori said, adding that she asked CBS to stop pursuing the story, which they ultimately did. The publicist was speaking in support Hackman's 3 adult children, Christopher Hackman, Elizabeth Hackman, and Leslie Allen, along with Arakawa's mother, Yoshi Feaster, who argued that video shot by police officers inside the couple's home should not be released. In court documents obtained by the media, Feaster said, "I humbly come before this court to request that this court respect my right to grieve in peace and find that I have a constitutional right to avoid seeing images of my daughter's home, her dead body, her husband's dead body, and their dog's corpse." She added, "The public spectacle surrounding my daughter's death is one that no parent should have to live through." Hackman and Arakawa were found dead at their home at the end of February. On March 7th, Dr. Heather Jarrell, chief medical examiner at New Mexico's Office of the Medical Investigator, revealed at a press conference that the couple had died from natural causes. She announced Arakawa's cause of death was hantavirus, a rare illness contracted via contact with rodents like rats and mice. Meanwhile, Hackman's death was tied to heart disease, with Alzheimer's disease contributing. He was in a very poor state of health. He had significant heart disease, and I think ultimately that's what resulted in his death, Jarrell said. During the hearing, Arakawa's mother, Yoshi Feaster, shared in a statement that since the death of her daughter and son-in-law, the significant media coverage surrounding the circumstances of her passing has forced me to relive the experience of her untimely death repeatedly. Feaster continued that media outlets have been seeking to access photographs and videos of her daughter's body from New Mexico's Office of the Medical Investigator. "I humbly come before this court to request that this court respect my right to grieve in peace and find that I have a constitutional right to avoid seeing images of my daughter's home, her dead body, her husband's dead body, and their dog's corpse. The public spectacle surrounding my daughter's death is one that no parent should have to live through," Feaster said in her statement. "I believe a parent's right to choose how to care for a child during their life should reasonably extend to a parent's decision in dealing with a child's death," Feaster said. "This right should extend to protect against the release of the autopsy photos and autopsy reports of my daughter. This right should extend to permit me to control the physical remains of my daughter, her memory, and images of her deceased body, including but not limited to images demonstrating how my daughter was residing during her final days." Betsy's mother expressed concerns over how released images of her late daughter could end up online, on television, and be discussed on the radio and on podcasts. "No reasonable person could avoid seeing or hearing these images and videos. Undoubtedly, I would be forced to relive and face my daughter's last few days a countless number of times," Feaster said. "Society should respect not only its dead, but the family who are left behind to grieve their lost loved one." She concluded her statement by expressing that she cannot imagine the magnitude of trauma she would face should images be released. Before Gene Hackman faded from public view in his adopted hometown of Santa Fe, New Mexico, the locals would see the aging movie star on the golf course, in his truck, or walking his beloved dogs in the enchanted western city amid the juniper and piñon pine. His wife, Betsy, was often alongside him. There was much about his life that she managed. She set up the golf games with his friends. She policed his diet, given the heart trouble that had dogged him for decades. She diluted his wine with soda water. She typed and edited the novels he wrote by hand. She also apparently took on the role of sole caregiver as he endured the devastating effects of Alzheimer's. 30 years his junior, she must have planned to see him to his end in their home. And so it was all the more jarring when authorities in New Mexico revealed more dark turns in the mystery of how the couple died in February in their 4-bedroom house, hidden by trees at the end of a luxurious cul-de-sac east of the city. Officials said the couple died of natural causes, he of heart disease, and she of a rare viral infection. But it was Betsy, the caregiver, lover, protector, who died first, perhaps on February 11th, leaving Hackman, 95 years old with advanced Alzheimer's, alone in the house for days. He is believed to have died a week later, on February 18th. Their decomposing bodies were not discovered for yet another 8 days when a maintenance worker called a security guard to the house after no one came to the door. Emergency workers found Betsy on the floor of a bathroom near a medicine bottle and spilled pills. Zinna, one of their 3 dogs, was dead in a crate in a closet. The body of Hackman was discovered in a mud room with slippers and a cane. New Mexico's chief medical examiner said that Alzheimer's disease was a contributing factor in Hackman's death. As earlier mentioned, Arakawa died of hantavirus, which is contracted through exposure to excrement from rodents, often the deer mouse in New Mexico. The exact details of what happened in the house over the course of that week may never be known. Friends and neighbors said that the couple had increasingly receded into the private confines of their hillside house since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. But the timeline presented raises the terrifying possibility that Hackman, a Marine veteran and actor of consummate precision and control, had spent days in the presence of his fallen wife, too disoriented or feeble to call for help, trapped, essentially, in the handsome, secluded home that had been his reward for a life toiling in the limelight. The Oscar winner was drawn to Santa Fe in the late 1980s, shortly after his divorce from his first wife. He had already earned an Oscar for his starring role in the 1971 thriller, The French Connection. Another Oscar, as a supporting actor in the 1992 western Unforgiven, would come later. His father, who abandoned the family when Hackman was 13, was a pressman for the local newspaper. His mother was a waitress. But Hackman had a bohemian streak and was drawn to Santa Fe's stunning natural landscape and the artists the landscape inspired. He would become one of them, spending much of the second half of his life painting, sculpting, and writing fiction in Santa Fe, far from the trophy homes of Beverly Hills that many celebrities of his caliber inhabit. On the other hand, Arakawa was a classical pianist who was born in Hawaii. She met Hackman in Los Angeles at a fitness center where she had a part-time job. According to Rodney Hatfield, a friend, he had forgotten his entry card and she refused to let him in. They married in 1991. Friends said that the relationship seemed natural despite the age difference. That part never came to mind because they seemed equal in so many ways, said a friend, Susan Contreras. She was a personality unto herself. The life they settled into in Santa Fe was both charmed and strikingly normal. Architectural Digest featured an earlier hilltop house they owned outside of town, built to their specifications in an elegant southwestern style. Hackman joined the board of the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum, one of the city's storied cultural gems. They invested in a restaurant, Jinja, which displayed the actor's paintings and named a house Mai Tai cocktail in his honor. But others remembered a man who often seemed to fit the mold of the everyman he so often played on screen. Helen Dufresne, a former neighbor, recalled meeting Hackman for the first time about a decade ago. He was wearing a baseball cap and had pulled up alongside her in a truck to compliment her dachshunds. "What cute puppies," he said. Tom Allen, a longtime friend of Hackman's, said Arakawa had always served as something of a gatekeeper for her famous husband. Over a 20-year friendship with Hackman, Allen never recalled speaking to him over the phone or emailing him. He would always set up golf games or visits through Arakawa. Uninterested in technology, Hackman did not have a cell phone that Allen knew about. She was very protective of him, Allen said, adding that Hackman seemed happy to have his wife run things. He recalled Hackman saying that he would have been dead long ago without his wife taking care of him and ensuring that he ate healthily. In January 2020, just before the pandemic, Allen said, he saw his friend for his 90th birthday in Islamorada, Florida. He recalls Arakawa mixing soda water into his wine. She just really looked after him, he said. He also said that he could sense that Hackman was declining. The couple had a tradition where the actor would cook dinner each year for Arakawa's birthday. In 2023, she came home expecting a meal, Allen recalled, but Hackman had forgotten their ritual. Like many older Americans, Hackman retreated indoors during the COVID crisis to stay safe. In recent years, neighbors in Santa Fe Summit, the gated community where the couple lived, said they had seen no sign of the couple, except for their trash cans on the side of the road waiting to be picked up. During a news conference following their death, Sheriff Aiden Mendoza of Santa Fe County said that investigators had determined that on February 9th, a Sunday, Arakawa had picked up Zina from a veterinarian after the dog underwent a procedure, which could explain why Zina was being kept in a crate. On February 11th, perhaps hours before she died, Arakawa emailed her massage therapist in the morning and then went to a grocery store in the afternoon. She was also captured on surveillance video making a brief stop at a pharmacy. Sheriff Mendoza said he believed she wore a mask that day while in public, which she often did to avoid bringing any illnesses back to her husband, friends said. The sheriff said that Arakawa stopped by a local pet food store later that afternoon and returned to her neighborhood around 5:15 p.m. She did not respond to any emails after that day. Asked whether the couple had anyone taking care of Hackman, Sheriff Mendoza said, "At this point, there's no indication that there was a caretaker at the home." James Everett, who lived part-time in the neighborhood for about 5 years, said in an interview that he found it unusual that the couple did not have any caretakers, given Hackman's age. "I know when my dad was 95, 96, 97, 98, we had a live-in cook and maid for him," he said. "I'm surprised they didn't have them." Another neighbor, Robert Cecil, wondered whether the couple's desire for privacy was, in the end, a weakness that contributed to the horror that befell them. But Hatfield, Hackman's longtime friend, said that the actor loved Santa Fe because it allowed him to live a life that was not always that of a star. "I know that Gene did not like the role of celebrity," he said. "It was pretty obvious." Another friend, Stuart Ashman, said that solitude was often the goal for people who migrated to Santa Fe. "People come here as a way to hide out," he said. They certainly did. And while the actor's 3 children didn't live near him in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and didn't necessarily see him that often, a new report disputes the idea that they were estranged from their 95-year-old father or are gearing up for a legal fight over his $80 million estate. In fact, according to the Daily Mail, the French Connection legend and his children were in regular contact before his death in February, though mostly by phone because they lived in different states. Sources close to the 3 children also dismiss speculation that they will challenge his will, which reportedly didn't specifically name them as beneficiaries. That's because the children have said they have all been adequately provided for via trusts Hackman set up to safeguard his assets. The award-winning actor had 3 children during his first marriage to Faye Maltese from 1956 to 1986. Christopher Hackman, 65, and daughters Leslie Hackman, 62, and Elizabeth Hackman, 58. All 3 children were represented at the hearing by an attorney who highlighted the trauma they could endure from the public release of specific body camera footage. An attorney for the Hackman family estate also argued for the family's right to privacy, saying that Hackman and Arakawa took great pains to stay out of the spotlight in Santa Fe, and that the right to control the use of their names and likenesses should extend to their estate in death. The media's interest in the investigative reports and images is due to the strange and tragic set of circumstances surrounding the couple's deaths. They both died in their $3.8 million Santa Fe home, though at separate times and for different reasons. Their bodies also remained undiscovered for more than a week until February 26th, when a handyman and building contractor who'd worked regularly for them for 16 years grew concerned that they had not been in touch and decided to visit the property. The Daily Mail also said that people shouldn't read too much into reports that no one has yet claimed the bodies of Hackman and Arakawa, a month after they were found dead. I gather the time delay is not unusual and preparations for a family funeral are well underway, wrote a reporter, who spent a week in Santa Fe and spoke to people who knew the couple and their family. In his report, the reporter found no evidence to suggest that the two-time Oscar winner spent his final years as a recluse in his home in a gated community, guarded by his protective younger second wife. On the contrary, he found that the couple co-owned and helped run a variety of local businesses, including restaurants and interior design stores. They also attended fundraisers for local nonprofits and attended 4th of July parties and other local events. Christopher Hackman also appeared to have had an active role in helping his father run some of his investments and was with Arakawa's mother, Yoshi Foster, on the day that both received word that she and his father were dead. In interviews, Hackman had spoken of his regrets about being frequently absent when his children were growing up. But the reporter found that his relationship with his children had warmed considerably in recent years. The children also spoke highly of their stepmother, whom they knew took good care of their father. There's one strange circumstance in the couple's final months that is likely to remain unresolved, as earlier reported. It has to do with whether they were being stalked. Arakawa's hairdresser, Christopher Torres, told investigators that his client was frazzled in the weeks before her death, expressing concern about seeing a man parked outside the gate of their neighborhood and then being followed by him on 2 separate occasions. One occasion is when they went White Rock, Torres said, according to Fox News. They went and had lunch there, and the guy followed them from outside of their gated community all the way to White Rock. She said, "Christopher, I'm surprised that security didn't know how he got there, because when we left, I noticed that this car had followed us from the residence to White Rock." The man may have been an unusually obsessive Hackman fan because he approached the couple, pulled out a folder of photos of the Unforgiven actor, and asked him to sign them. But Arakawa told Torres she found this behavior strange and invasive because Santa Fe is not a place of paparazzi, and the couple usually aren't bothered by fans. She said she told the man he needed to have more respect. Arakawa also told Torres that the man had followed them to a different location at another time and offered them a bottle of wine, which Arakawa said they had declined. It has been reported that investigators made some effort to track down the mystery man after learning about him, including by trawling through extensive CCTV footage. But the police investigation was called off on March 7th after autopsy results came in and showed that the couple's deaths were due to natural causes. So, will there be more drama from these double deaths? Only time will tell. And that's it from us today. Until next time, thank you for watching.